Welcome to this special International Women's Day 2026 recording, hosted by me, Alan Lau of the Frank C Foundation. We're spotlighting three amazing women in football who work in the professional game. I've been working in this space for the last 5 to 6 years now, and it always excites me when someone else from the East and Southeast Asian communities in the game. But it makes me even happier that we're seeing more and more of our EC sisters involved. I would like to bring in my three guests, Wai Wan, Ching-Hang, and also Songmi. If I could bring you in that order to introduce yourself and what club you are working for, and what's your role, please.
Hi, yeah, my name's Wai Wan. I am the Football Development Coordinator for the Aston Villa Foundation.
Hi, my name's Chun. I am the Academy Recruitment Coordinator at Tottenham Hotspur on the boys' side.
Hi guys, my name is Songmi. I go by Song. I work at Chelsea Women's first team as a physical performance coach.
Okay, so firstly, Wai, can you tell me a bit about your journey into football?
Yeah, so it's a long journey, so we may be here for about half an hour just talking about this. I'll try and keep it short and sweet, but there wasn't very much opportunity for us, so for women, for girls to play footballs. As I grew up, obviously, just watching brothers and stuff like that, and then jumping in the park with them and joining in, I kind of was like, this is interesting. What is this? And I was watching it on TV, etc. But then I kind of got to a point later on in life where I got an opportunity to play and just know that coaching was available. You could actually do that. And obviously, as I kind of furthered on my career, I decided to kind of look at different paths into that. But I also was looking at another career because I think as an Southeast Asian, growing up, you're encouraged to find a job that actually, pays you well. But I was kind of rebellious. Yeah, I was kind of a bit rebellious against that, a little bit, if I'm honest with you. Not that I didn't want to get paid, obviously, of course you do, because you have to live. But for me, it was about, I actually want to do something that I wanted to do rather than just do something for the sake of doing it or because it's culturally, that's what you do. Like, the stereotypes of you should be an accountant or you should be this or you should be that because you'll earn a lot of money. But for me, I think the way I grew up and my surroundings, I kind of wanted to go, well, this is what I enjoy. I want to do something that I actually enjoy. So going on from that, I kind of looked into different coaching paths, I guess, after I'd studied many different things away from football. But I always came back to football. And then from there, I was working with different clubs coming from the south. I was working with Southampton with the foundation in and around the club and the academy and, the girls set up and everything. And I was there for quite a long time and then had opportunities to sort of coach abroad. So I went abroad to America, I went over to China, I came back, I've just been around everywhere. And that journey's just led me to sort of where I am now as well. So I've kind of then come here to Birmingham and I'm working on a project called Everybody's Game, which is an inclusive project to promote and increase football activities for girls and women, helping to upskill and mentor female volunteers and coaches. So for me, that, was a journey that I've gone kind of around the back of the houses, working with players, but also working with coaches. And then obviously, whilst that was happening, I was also looking at working with the FA and went for, many sort of casual developer roles. So now I'm also a coached developer as well.
Thank you for that, Wai. And Ching?
So I'm from Hong Kong. I started out playing football and then when I guess I started working in football in university when I just happened to get a part-time job in coaching. It wasn't something that I envisioned myself doing, but the guy that ran the company, he was like, you're a female, the girls are going to love you. You'll be fine. Just, give it a go. And that was how I started coaching in football, playing and coaching at the same time. But it wasn't until I think 5 years ago when I kind of stopped playing and moved over to the UK that I got a proper job in football. So I started out working at Nottinghamshire County FA. And then from there, I moved to Tottenham Hotspur, starting out at their global department. And then from there, I've transitioned to the academy on the boys' side.
Before you go on though, tell me more about your playing career because I think you've glossed over that a little bit, and I want to pull into that.
My playing career. So I used to play for the Hong Kong national women's team for a couple of years, represented them in international competitions. And I think after one competition, the technical director, I remember he came to us and spoke to us, and he was like, some of you are quite good. He was like, some of you, you have a chance to play in England. And I think that was the first time any of us ever had the dream of thinking, oh, you can actually go abroad and play football. And that was when I probably started researching a bit more, and I decided, right, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna try and, not necessarily make it as a professional, but I wanna explore the world and see what it's like playing in different countries. From there, I went to Australia, played for a little bit, and then I moved to the UK. I played in Scotland and I played in Wales. Yeah, and then from then I transitioned to working in football.
Well, I want to probably come back to a bit more on that because I find that really interesting. And usually, if someone asked me about my footballing career, I would always have probably the first big thing is saying about how I've represented the country of my birth. So, Song, would you like to tell me a bit about your journey?
Yeah, it's quite interesting to hear Wai and Cheng because I think we are similar in the way that we love football, but actually where we came from is quite different. So I grew up in South Korea and I'm from South Korea. But back then, when I was a kid, the sports is not really a thing in South Korea. It's like if you committed to kind of follow to the professional pathway, you need to commit your life age of like 9 or 11. That was really common. You go to boarding school or the school away from home. Otherwise, you probably stay in school, like middle school, high school. We stay at school from like, I don't know, 8 till 9 p.m. I'm not joking, it's still the case, I think. But then when I was a kid, there was the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and Japan. And that's when I fell in love with football. But again, I didn't decide to or commit to the football career because I was a normal student. So I was just watching football in the middle of the night, 3:30 a.m. I just woke up, I watched the Champions League or Premier League because of the time difference. And then one day there was a game of Reading I watched. They had a Korean player in Reading. And in that game, obviously, I put the sound like a 1 or 2 so my parents couldn't hear I watch football. But there was a lady sprinted onto the pitch when the player went down. And that was the first time I saw a woman in football. And I was like, oh, that might be something I can do. So I did a search and it was a medical team or medical staff to support the team. So that from that moment I was okay, I want to go to university to study sports medicine or something and just become a medical staff in the team so then I can be in football team. So I studied sports medicine in South Korea and I worked a little bit with the South Korea national team, started from the youth and then under 18, under 19 and the national team did different tournaments as a medical staff. I really enjoyed it because it was kind of my first experience to be part of the team, especially the national team. But then I did a bit more work as a medical staff and I could see most of injuries could happen on the pitch. So then what I do is more reactive rather than proactive. So from that moment, I was thinking, well, I want to be part of the team and I want to help the team and the players. So then why don't I go for performance pathway? So then I can prescribe and I can help the prescription side. So then actually it might be more helpful for the players. And thankfully, I had a good mentors around. So they encouraged me to go abroad and study. So then I might have a better chance to be a better coach. So I came to Liverpool in 2018 to do masters in strength and conditioning because it was one of the biggest university at that time around the football because I only wanted to work in football. So I didn't need to consider other countries or other universities. So that's how I came this country to study sports science. And I did the masters and I had an opportunity to have a placement at the 4th division football club. And again, I kind of pursued my pathway. Okay, I want to study, but at the same time, I want to apply my studying into practice rather than just study in university. So I did a master's by research and PhD alongside working at the club. So I worked at Leeds United under 18s and I went to Huddersfield Academy. That's where I could study, but also gain a lot of practical experience while working with English people. at the beginning, I couldn't really understand what they were saying because of the different accent. But then, by the end of it, I went to America with a full-time job at Washington Spirit, the NWSL club. Then I came back to London last July with Chelsea, again as a performance coach to work with the first team here.
That's
Wow.
quite a journey from all three of you, actually.
I said they're biologists
Actually, I
already.
want to say now
Yeah.
too. This is the first time that all three of you have met. So if there's any times that you want to stop each other, and ask questions, please go ahead, because I want this to be more of a discussion, and I want the audience to learn more about you, and also if you want to learn more from each other. So please do butt in front of me and ask questions, and that'll be really cool. But I think one of the things that song you were saying, that bit of inspiration that you got from watching the game and seeing a woman come on, and that sort of gave you that sort of inspiration. Ching and Wai, do you have any similar sort of experiences, or what inspired you into getting into football?
Well, I mean, I started playing football because of, I think it was a Japanese cartoon. I was just watching it with my cousins, and my cousins would invite me to the park and we'd go kick about. That's how I got into football. But in terms of like if there was like an actual superstar or, role model in football, I mean, you had the Premier League players at the time, but no one really inspired me to be like, oh, like you can make a career out of this. Like, I don't think I've really ever had anyone. But I do remember, in the media, like reading about, the US women's national team and being like, even though they could do it, it just seemed really like far from where I was in my reality. Because, that's like the US, it's big, it's got a lot of money, they've got a lot of funding into their system. And I think the US was just way ahead of everyone at the time.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I mean, I think I've probably got a few more years on you two ladies when it comes down to role models and things like that, because there were no women around. When I was watching TV, it was all obviously men on TV, and everything like that. And there were no girls' teams here that I could play for, And it wasn't until I went to college that then I found a team that I could actually play for, and I played 5-a-side first to begin with, then played 11-a-side. And they're such different games, aren't they? And I just absolutely, I was like, I didn't even know what to do, and there was no one to sort of represent women, and there was no one to represent like someone that looked like me, right? So for me, I think, no, there wasn't that role model, but, hopefully we can be those role models. That's what I'm hoping, and that's kind of what propelled me into wanting to do what I do personally. And it's a shame because I think there are so many amazing women out there. And, it's, I would say probably over the last, maybe sort of 10, 20 years, if that, there's been a bit more sort of push towards incredible women actually coming and showing that, they're there. So, they're a bit more visible, right?
I think one of the things that I'm getting there too is that I think all three of you work in a very male-dominated space. And I want to ask you, has that been difficult, and what challenges have there been, and what have you done to sort of support yourself and support other women around you?
I think what we do, full stop, being visible is a massive, massive thing. I think, like Song, you were saying about you saw someone on TV running on, helping someone, thinking, oh, hang on, I didn't know I could do that. Right. That being visible, us being here now, someone watching this one day, it might not be 1,000 people watching, it might be 10 people watching. But if we can affect that one person, that makes such a difference, I think, personally. And I think our everyday lives, even though we may not see it, will affect someone else that we work alongside, who may see us across the pitch. We could be doing something, and we don't know that they're actually, oh, that's just inspired me, because like for us, we're trying to be visible and represent. And I think that's a huge thing, if I'm honest with you. So I think, me just being in the game, doing what I do, going into different clubs, working with different coaches, different people, different players, trying to inspire that next generation of females, to whether they play or whether they coach, whether they want to be a physio, whether they want to be analyst, etc., etc. I think just being visible is the most, the biggest thing.
Is anyone I want to add to that?
I mean, I definitely agree with the visibility, because I remember when I first, even right now in the Spurs Academy, there's only like one female coach. There's one female coach. There are quite a number of females in the like performance, nutrition, medical, but in terms of coaching, there's only like one female coach on the boys' side. And if you compare this like to the women's game where you have actually quite a number of male coaches, yeah, it's not enough. But even though like I'm not in coaching, so compared to probably both your roles, I'm probably less visible because I'm more behind the scenes and stuff. And I know in recruitment there's not a lot of females in recruitment, because I remember a couple of months when I transitioned to my current role, I remember, trying to look online to see, where are the women, like who can I connect with. And I just remember there was like an article by, I think, Training Ground Guru, and he like listed like all the females you should know in football. And when it came to like the recruitment and talent ID part, I think that he only listed like 3 or 4 females who were actual scouts or similar roles and stuff. And yeah, so there's not a lot in the recruitment space at the moment, at least visible, or at least, and in those, upper levels. But yeah, definitely visibility is important, because every day I'm the only female in my team. I work with men all the time, but I wouldn't say it's any different to working with women. It's just because like men and women, everyone is an individual. They've got different personalities, and I think it's just knowing how to navigate everyone's personalities.
So for me, before I went to the Washington Spirit, the women's club, before then I was working in the male, like predominantly just male. Probably I was the only or one of the two like female staff. So at the time I didn't really think about it, because in my culture that we don't really think that way. And for example, in Korea still now, people think that women cannot work in men's football. But that was my first time working in male football. And then I was like, oh, in this country, everything is possible. This is what I thought. But then actually, it might not be the case, because there was not many female in football. So it might be there. But I think yeah, visibility is one thing, but also the people I worked with, hopefully they had a good experience with me, because I had a good experience with them. So in maybe for them as well. So they think, well, actually, we can work with the female staff, and actually it's going well. It's all right. And for example, the small things when you go away game, like the changing room, yeah, obviously there won't be like a male and female changing room. There is a bit of not comfortable situation, but we can work it around, because at the end of the day, we are there to work for the team and work for the players. So yeah, there will be small kind of uncomfortable things that we might need to step out when they get changed, or vice versa. But then actually, in terms of the working relationship or daily workflow, actually we are good. So that was one thing. And then when I went to America, I had a couple of female colleagues, and they shared me, as you two share just to me now, that they shared something that I've never thought about, mainly because of my background and my culture, because I'm from South Korea. We are quite different to maybe America, to maybe UK, but then they also inspired me a lot. Then like visibility to the girls, like the young girls, they can probably think that what I thought when I saw the lady sprinting onto the pitch when I watched the football game. So I think, yeah, overall, yeah, the visibility, and then actually we can work together with the male is another thing, I think.
Yeah, it's quite mad, isn't it? Like, we're 3 females in football, and we're talking about obviously, being that minority. But also, it's not just the minority of being a female, it's also minority of, where we come from as well. I don't know how many times I've been, mistaken. I say mistaken. I'm going to use that word nicely. Because the first thing I always get asked is not are you a coach? What do you think I get asked? Go on, Song. What do you think I get asked?
So I didn't understand your question. Oof, I don't know. I'm curious to hear that.
Are you a
Straight
parent?
away. Not a parent. Nope. Are you the physio? Are you the
No.
analyst? Are you anything but a coach? So that always comes out as always the first thing, because it's, like I said, like the visibility. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I am the minority in coaching, with regards to sort of what I do, etc. Because you aren't going to see a lot of women like me, in those sort of, but I've had to graft over so many years and,
Mm.
kick down doors, and sort of force open, like people to sort of change their mindsets and stuff like that and just be more visible in the game. So for me, that's, part of my journey. I don't know about yourselves. Like, have you had that? Have you had that at all? And if you have, what, tell me, like, what have you been through that I could say, yeah, I've been through that.
I mean, I think, but this doesn't only just happen in football. I think because my name is Ching, it's quite ambiguous. And I send a lot of emails out to anyone and everyone. People sometimes respond to me, they think I'm a man.
Yeah.
I get that
Imagine
quite a
that,
bit
yeah.
and stuff. So to me, that's sometimes like it's not frustrating. I have to laugh it off because not everyone understands like the different names and stuff. So that's what I get the most in terms of like being mistaken. But I mean, the only time I've really been mistaken is probably when I was working at a school and coaching at the same time. That was when I was like in my early 20s. Other coaches from the opposite team, they would think I was a student. I'd get treated as a student because obviously Asian, quite a young face, but coaching and leading a team.
Yeah, we've got that
Um,
for us, haven't we?
yeah. And then sometimes also I do feel that maybe because I'm not quite outspoken like a lot of other people are, they just, first impressions, right? They think you don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. So that's probably what I face a lot. And they just think you're not ready for it. But it's just because I'm not outspoken, it doesn't mean I don't know, what I'm talking about. I just like to observe it first a bit more before actually speaking
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Song, what
Well,
have you
for
had?
me, when I was with the boys' academy at Huddersfield, sometimes you have a like home game the where a away team comes. Sometimes you get asked like, "Are you a physio?" All right, yeah, I can just say, like, I'm a performance. But then sometimes you see people who presume that I'm the physio and come to me straight and asking for some medical questions or like emergency action plan. Like, where is the like ambulance or whatever. I'm like, oof, you are asking the wrong person, probably. Yeah, they presume already that I'm a physio.
Mm.
But yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be the case though, should it? Let's be honest. We should be seen as who we are. Someone should approach us and say, like if they don't know what we do, don't assume. Come
Mm.
in and ask us. Like,
I think all three of you have a very, very international CV, and of course, both Ching and Song be coming here from abroad. I want to ask, actually, I think Song, you actually touched on it a little bit too. Is how does England and the UK compare to the other parts of the world that you've worked in?
The other parts, well, I now have a bit more reference to compare as I spent 2.5 years in America. But before then, obviously I'm coming from South Korea, that we have completely different culture to here, I'd say. So at the beginning, I saw a lot of things that was a bit surprised, but then I wasn't sure whether I'm supposed to be surprised or just like take it because it's just different country. So I needed to tell myself that, okay, maybe it's just different in this country, but either positive or negative. Sometimes it could be embarrassing, but sometimes it could be funny. But yeah, there is a difference between my culture and here. For example, the fact that I worked in the male football team was the big difference. But also there were some similarity to my culture. For example, when you do the rondos in the training session, or especially like under 18 or something, they always say like youngest two in the middle. I thought that thing only exists in Asia because we have the age is like the older ones have a bit of respect, get them more respect and not the other way. But yeah, here that was one of the interesting facts I found, youngest in the middle. And then always when you get the gear in after training, again, there was a similarity to my culture that, okay, the youngest ones, they are more expected to grab the gear. Obviously, the second years, they would do the same. But also, it's a positive thing that I can share my thoughts and opinion, even though it's slightly different to my boss or my head coach or the other coaches. For example, in my culture, we don't really get to share our thoughts that much. We tend to say yes to what like this all the people say or our boss says. But in England overall, I felt like I can share, but obviously I need to do it in a respectful way. I can't be just like saying as I speak to my friends. But then, yeah, I can feel that my opinion get heard, even though it's not been taken on board, if that makes sense.
yeah, it does.
How about you, Wai? Because you've obviously, again, you've worked in different spaces. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess each country is different, isn't it? With the way that they look at football, how they play football, how they want football to look, I guess. So, in America, it's much more advanced in terms of like female wise, right? Like there's so many more teams, there's a different type of division. So you've got your serious travel and then you've got your recreation. And obviously you've got then that elite stuff as well. In America, it's, very serious. They're very, very, very win-win sort of mentality over there, I found, which not a bad thing, it's great because everyone wants to win. But, like I said, they've got different leagues for different things. And then you've got, obviously, when I went over to like China, for instance, it's a completely different world, let alone like football wise. I think just the culture itself is so different. And, trying to adapt to that is, difficult as it is. So like, and then the way that they look at football as well, the I guess the regimented training and the sort of the discipline that they have to have over there is just it's crazy. And then over here, we've come back over here and it's more about, the younger sort of the younger players, with development, which is what it should be, right? About developing younger players. And then obviously the different age groups, and then obviously the FA DNA, the English DNA here. So, it is very different in every country. And I think it really does depend upon, I think for everyone, you have to, as I think personally for me as a coach, I have to take what I've learned from each country and then shape it around what I believe and how I feel that, like that I want to develop players, or how, my philosophy is, and go with my values as well. So I think having your own values is really important rather than just go, oh, I've seen someone do that, so I'm just going to copy them, or I've seen someone else do that and, I want to be like them, because you can't be like someone else. You are you. Right. Do you know what I mean? So I think you just got to go, right, I need to be me and just take what I've seen and actually shape it to how I can make it work for me.
And how about you, Ching? Because I think I want to ask you from more perspective of your playing career too, and how that's been different and how you've had to adapt in all these different situations.
Well, I think I was quite lucky because in Hong Kong, I was part of the national team. So let's put it this way: if I grew up in the UK, I probably wouldn't make the national team. But because Hong Kong is so small, you're kind of like a big fish in a small world. But because I was in that setup early, you got like given the good training with the national team, like training 3-4 times a week really early, and they're trying to be professional, so you had like good habits early. And then coming over, to the UK and Australia, because I played at, I wasn't at the top levels, at the lower to like grassroots level, it was like very interesting to see what grassroots level is like. Even to this day, I find it fascinating how there are some teams, women's teams, in I think tier 4 or tier 5, and they only train once a week. Where like that, to me, that is like insane. Like, how can you expect to progress up the ladder if you're only training once a week? And some of these teams and girls are very, very talented. So it's just like, imagine if like how much more funding they could get, like how much more they could reach and stuff. So I think the biggest difference for me between not even just as a player, but from what I've observed from like all the different cultures and countries, is just the amount of investment and the structure that is in place in the UK. Like at this point right now, there's a lot of investment and there's like a big structure. Whereas if you go to like, Australia or Hong Kong, other places, it's not as developed. Maybe at the top it is, but like spread out, it's not as advanced as the system here. Like I think what you have in the UK is hard to be replicated elsewhere.
Yeah.
Around the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that, to be honest with you. There's a lot of, because I deliver a lot of courses, and there's a lot of people that fly over from different countries to come over specifically to do courses over here. So, they're like, I've done it because, I think that the English, football sort of system is one of the best in the world. You can't argue with that, right? I mean, you
No,
can,
can't.
but I won't. But, it's it's true, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of really good things that, we do here. for football.
Yeah.
But I'd love
Yeah.
to like look at somewhere like, even going abroad and going somewhere like Spain and seeing how they do things, because without being able to go over there, and I can't really compare in that sense, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I can only compare what I've been through. I'm sure same as you. We can give our experiences of this, that, and the other, but we couldn't say which is, oh, this is the best one or that's the best one, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I do feel though that like through playing though, I do feel that, you've got like the Korean and the Japanese teams, like they've got, to me, they're similar to the Spanish teams. They've got a very, very clear identity. Whereas I think I have this discussion all the time with different people. Whereas like the English teams, because it's a Premier League, it's got like a mishmash of different cultures. It doesn't have as strong as like a playing identity as like the other European countries, which I find quite interesting. Yes, the FA has its like DNA and everything, but I think compared to like probably your Spain or Germany or even Italy, like I don't think the identity is as clear as
Mm.
as you would find in, so I agree with you. Why, like, I think going to Spain would be fascinating to see
Yeah.
how they do it from like the grassroots level to above, because I think even like grassroots here, you've got like everyone's got a different, yes, everyone's working on like the FA coaching syllabus, but I do feel like everyone's still doing it differently. Whereas, correct me if I'm wrong, but I maybe like in South Korea song with the grassroots team, like everyone's got like pretty much similar playing styles.
Well, that one is it's a bit difficult. So I'm not really sure whether we have existed the concept of grassroots football, because a lot of people, they have to play, like go to school, but
Just
obviously
go
this
straight
one,
away.
yeah, a bit more. But I would say in Korea, I think we do more training with the ball, like the relationship between the ball and myself. So
Mm,
you can see the players like who is really, really good on the ball, but maybe their decision making might not be the best because they are best at the relationship between themselves and the ball. Whereas Spain, I've only seen one Spanish staff that I worked with. I was quite surprised that the way they train was quite different to what I've seen from South Korea, that they do a lot of things with the ball, like within the context. It could be like rondo or possession, a lot of things. Even the passing is more related to the identity of the coach wants to play,
mm.
which might not be always the case in Korea, because we really focus on the repetition of the technique, even when you are at a high, like older age.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just point out that Spain is the only country that does stuff that's like,
That was kind of
I'm just saying as an example, like, because I would love to like even go over to like see how like the Germans do it, right, and even the Dutch and even the Japanese, because they're so technical, aren't they? And a lot of
Mm.
Asian countries have become more technical nowadays, and it would be great if I could just go, yeah, I'm going to come to you for a bit and come to you to literally go around the world and just like see everything. But
Yeah.
we all know that's not possible. One day when I win the lottery, maybe. Can I just throw in there, if there's anyone that wants to sponsor me to do that, like anyone listening now, just contact me. Yeah.
I want to move the conversation on a bit more. So I want to ask you all, what is your proudest moment in football so far?
Okay. Why don't I go ahead first? Yeah, I think so proudest moment, I've got to say, like, there's so many to choose from. I mean, I've spoken about this so many times. Like, I've had, over 20 odd years in football, and I've coached some incredible players. I've obviously, I am where I am today, and I've got stories I could literally reel off, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But there are so many things that, I could go through that I couldn't say there's one thing. I think, and there are lots of things. And I think when you look at things like just inspiring people, I think that's like makes me really proud. Inspiring sort of people that look like me, underrepresented people, full stop. Being able to say I'm still in football, now in this day and age, kind of, you know what I mean? Like that for me is, I'm proud of, sending players, working with players and then sending them off to sort of represent their country, win trophies or whatever, etc. That is incredible for me. And then, and then meeting people, when like, I don't know if you've had it, but when you've kind of bumped into players that you've coached before or that you've sort of helped along the way somehow, and they come back to you and you kind of go, and they remember you and you think, wow, that's really made me proud because they actually remember me, right? And you think, So yeah, I think there's so much to be proud of. I think just be proud of like, the journey that I've been through. I think that's probably what I'm most proud of. Obviously, I'd love to have gone, yeah, I'd love to be playing for like represent my country. Which country is that? I don't even know. But no, but Ting, to be fair, like if I knew that I could have at one point played for Hong Kong, would I have done that? Probably, absolutely. I would have jumped at the chance, But it wasn't something for me that was, I guess, visible, because I didn't know I could do that. So that would be amazing. But it doesn't take away from what I've done. So because I wouldn't have opened these doors for different things if I had have taken that path. So yeah, for me, I think I'm just proud of my journey that I've taken, I guess.
Thank you. And Ching?
I mean, I absolutely agree with you in terms of being proud of your journey, because I'm exactly the same. It's because I think, like, once you sort of achieve something, you're already looking for your next goal and you kind of forget it. So then, like, when you take the time to look back, and similar to why, like, you look back at like how far you've come, from starting out at zero to like being in the UK, or exactly what you said earlier, having, staying in football for that long, because you meet so many other people who probably are passionate and fans of football, but they've never really pursued to stay in this industry. And this industry is like, hearing both, Song and Wai's story, like, it's not an easy career. Like, you have to graft, you have to give things up. I'm sure both of them sacrificed other things that, to get to where they are today. And definitely being able, like, to say, you work full time in football and to still be here, I think that's definitely like the biggest achievement.
Song?
Wow, they've answered greatly. And actually, that answers actually made me okay. I should be proud of myself as well. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and to Alana, I mentioned about my PhD that when I passed my Viva, for example, I entered. That was because all my PhD was around what I did at the Huddersfield Town Football Club in applied setting. So, and also I kind of managed to complete that. So I picked that moment. And also, I also picked the moment when we went to the playoff final in America. But more importantly, I also pointed out that actually those moments might just happen once and then you might forget about it, as Ching said. But I think on a daily basis, I see myself, but also I really kind of feel proud of the players and the work I'm doing with them when I see them developing every day. I think probably same for you, why? Because you see them, our job is try to help them to be developed, but then actually they develop every day, but you might not see it every day, but different players, you can see their development throughout the time, especially when you spend time with them. So I think that is more of the proud moments I feel, day in, day out, working with the players and the team.
Well, I know that time is coming to an end soon. So what I want to do before we finish off is I want to ask all three of you, what would your advice be to any girl who wants to be involved in football, whether they're from an EC background or not? But just what's your advice? What's your thing that you want to pass on to them? And I'll start with Ching first.
I think I told you, say yes to any opportunity that comes your way. You never know, what's going to happen or where it's going to take you. And, because, based on my journey, I didn't want a career in sport at all. Like, I was like, I don't want to become a PE, because at the time there was only like the option of being a PE teacher or a football coach. And look where I am now. I'm working in football and sport. So, and I think sometimes it's just, you may have an idea of what you want for yourselves, but also like listen to the people around you, because sometimes you've got blind spots in yourself, and you've got people who may push you, or in one direction, or suggest something because maybe you haven't realized you've got that in yourself yet. So say yes to any opportunities that come your way.
Yes, that's really, really, really
Yeah.
important. Song?
Yeah, I think, well, I always struggle to give any advice or something. I think it's great that you found something that you want to try. I think it's not everyone has that, like, oh, I like this, I want to do this, I want to commit to this. So I think that's great starting point. And my next thing is, yeah, you probably are not gonna, probably don't see many like women or many East Asian or Asian women in football, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. Yeah, of course, it's gonna be hard. There's nothing easy in the life, but if you put the limit to yourself, actually, it's gonna be your limit. So if you really like something, if you really want to do something, don't worry too much about it. Just you do it like day in, day out. You work hard, you try hard, and you do your best. I think you can get to where you want to get to. Yeah, and I think recently I saw the interview from the Olympian that she said said like you every day you are getting closer to the person that you admire. Like when you're age of 8, I don't think she like said exactly this way, but actually that answer meant a lot to me as well. Yeah, you are getting closer to what you wanted to be when you were younger, like every day. So I think just keep trying, then yeah, you will get to where you want to get to.
Thank you for that
Yeah,
answer. And
massively.
finally, why?
Yeah, I think, what advice I'd give. I think massively, I think just be an inspiration to yourself. Like, inspire yourself to be better, inspire yourself to inspire others. I think that's really important. Believe that you can and you will. I'm a massive believer in, things happen for a reason, but you have to be able to make things happen by doing it. Because if you don't try, you'll never know. So absolutely, I think, like as anyone, whether you want to become a footballer, whether you want to, I don't know, whether you want to work in VAR, whether you want to be a referee, whether you want to be in recruitment, physio, strength and conditioning, a coach, whatever it is, like, don't be afraid to do it, I guess. Like, literally go for it, because what's the worst that can happen? You might not like it and then change your career path. So what? If that's the worst that can happen, bring it on. Because what's the best that could happen? I'm really happy with what I do and I love my job. What more can you be? Do you know what I mean? What more could you want? Like, I'm a famous footballer. Hey, I've done it. I've got there. So yeah, that's
No, well,
my advice. I absolutely go for it.
thank you all three of you for your perfect answers actually. And I've come out a lot from this session actually. We're thinking how positive and the inspiration from all three of you. And it's been I've been more now. I'm feeling really, that fuzzy feeling when I've heard, some really, really cool people talking about the things that drive them. And, you know, that piece you're talking about, inspiration and inspiring others, that's really important. And I think you three, in this conversation have really, really sort of shone a light on that. And I hope that people at home who are listening to this really, really get that too. So again, thank you all three of you for spending this time to have this chat. And yeah, I look forward to see, where the three of you, what further successes you will have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for setting this up.
Yeah. I think, it's been lovely to meet you all as well, ladies, and lovely to see you lads too. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.